Our theme, a century of black life, history, and culture.
I just want to take this moment to thank you for being here to help us to celebrate the 45th year of the Black Business Association. The Black Business Association has been fighting for you and for black businesses in this community for over 45 years. That's a long time. As long as we can have businesses that can thrive and can share in the economic pie, we can improve our community.
As we close out Black History Month, we should recognize not just Black History Month for 1 month, not just for 1 week, but not just for 1 day, but every day, every day, every day.
Our first honoree is called the Historian Award. It's presented to Bill Jones, and accepting for Mr. Jones is going to be his granddaughter, Latoya. William B. Jones is affectionately known as Bill Jones, is a history maker during a time when celebrity African-American freelance photojournalists were far and few between. In 1978, he became the first African-American photojournalist to receive an invitation from the Academy of Motion Pictures of Arts and Sciences, which is basically the Oscars, to cover its ceremony as an official member of the press.
My grandfather, he taught me a lot of things. He taught me hard work. He taught me how to fight for what you believe in. He taught me how to keep working at what your passion, how to make money at what your passion is. And I can remember all his stories before I was born on how he used to sit out with his camera. He used to send his pictures to Jet and Ebony, and I remember Watts Times. A lot of them gave him chances, and he was very humble. He never once ever sent a photo out that was disturbing or something that would make the image of someone look bad, no matter how much someone offered him for that photo. It was funny because we started out with film, and it was not too many photographers that could shoot a whole roll of film without any mistakes. Out of the whole roll, almost every image was right, and he always caught that positive image about someone.
Our next honoree, again, needs no introductions, particularly if you're from the Los Angeles area. He is receiving what we call the Freedom Rider Award. His name is Bob Farrell. He's the former councilman and freedom rider and journalist.
Back in the day, we used to count Negroes or their absence on workspaces, whether public or private, and we would engage ourselves in conversations to see how we could negotiate opportunities for business and work for Negroes in some kind of a proportional way. Here we are in the 21st century, and I just hope that those of you who are going to be in positions of influence at a time in the near future, when the young men and young women who are in Black Lives Matter movement today, and who will walk around and say, don't shoot, when they are arrested and go to jail and come out, will you all be as welcoming to them as Lauren Miller, and the publisher of the Los Angeles Sentinel, Leon Washington, were to me? One thing is for sure, the generation of the millennials won't go around, for example, looking at that new Grand Hotel that's being built a few blocks away from here and attempting to check out the number of black people who are going to be working there as carpenters or electricians or molders or whatever else. They will be going to open data in this new world of the internet, and they will be looking at data in real time, the same real time that the regulators and politicians and everybody else is going to be looking at, and they're going to be using apps to basically see where they fit and how the programs of employment and finance and everything else apply to them. This is a time of the digital divide. I just hope that their future will will be similar to the opportunities that I have, and that one day soon, one of those millennial persons, or maybe more, will be in a position where they grace podiums like this, and most certainly represent you at places such as Los Angeles City Hall.
Our next honoree is the Business Pioneer Award for the 27th Street Bakery.
Growing up in a family business, when you're young, you don't think of it as a family business. When you're in high school, you want to hang out with friends at the mall. I had to go to work. I couldn't do that. I had to load up pies with my mom and go deliver pies on Saturdays. I didn't want to do it, but it taught me work ethic. It taught me responsibility. It taught me that anything that's worth having is worth working for. We're not a fancy place, but we do a lot of hard work. But it's all worth it because we see the same faces, the same dedicated faces that keep us in business. People like you, whose mothers and kids and grandkids have eaten our pies. When you go in business for yourself, you don't go in it to be rich. It's basically customer service. When I was young in high school going with my mother, we would drive 30, 40 minutes to deliver 1 dozen of pies. And I didn't see the logic in it. Of course, I do now. But it wasn't about that. I'm like, Mom, you're spending the gas money on the money you're getting for the pies. But it wasn't about that. It wasn't about that at all. It was about customer service. It was about them having a great product. And that 1 dozen a week turned into 20 dozen a week. I am 3rd generation, and we're working on the 4th, and we get so many people to tell us, don't close, don't close, keep doing what you're doing. And we're doing it. We're doing it because of wonderful people like you.
We're calling this the Organization Pioneer Award. It's presented to Consolidated Board of Realtors. In 1949, a group of young, dynamic African-American real estate brokers gathered to discuss the inequitable and prejudicial treatment of brokers in the Los Angeles area. African-American brokers in the Los Angeles area were being denied membership in local real estate boards and trade organizations.
We have been around since 1949, and one of the items in which was discussed this evening was legacy. And I'm so honored to be a part of the Consolidated Board of Realtors Legacy that has continued to fight for democracy and housing, both in our community and fight for equality as we move forward. In 2008 was one of the largest housing crises that we've ever seen, and African Americans lost over half of our wealth. And so we, as an organization, we continue to strive for rebuilding our community and making sure that we constantly have a seat at the housing table in all forms. So whether we are on the picket line fighting for equal rights with housing allocations, or we're in Washington, D.C. fighting for access to mortgage capital, just understand that the Consolidated Board of Realtors is always fighting on your behalf. Many years ago, systematically, we were denied the opportunity to both live in certain neighborhoods as well as practitioners sell in certain neighborhoods. And that still exists today, although the sign has changed from No Blacks Allowed to a more sophisticated approach. We have to also grow in our sophistication in our battle against such discriminatory practices. 66 years ago, our organization was founded by some young and energetic individuals who saw a need. And out of that need, we are still here today. So I'm honored to stand before you this evening. I'm honored to continue carrying the torch of the legacy. And if I could leave you with one item tonight, I would just say, never stop teaching.
We're calling this the Institution Pioneer Award. It's presented to the Los Angeles Sentinel. The Los Angeles Sentinel is a weekly African-American-owned newspaper published in Los Angeles, California. The paper boasts of reaching 125,000 readers as of 2004, making it one of the oldest, largest, and most influential African-American newspapers in the Western United States. The Los Angeles Sentinel was founded and first published in 1933 by Colonel Leon H. Washington. accepting for the Los Angeles Sentinel, the executive publisher and CEO, Mr. Danny Bakewell Sr.
We are very, very fortunate to have had a tremendous run in Los Angeles and throughout the nation in terms of recognizing the importance of the LA Sentinel, not only to the Los Angeles community, but being the largest, the oldest, and the #1 black newspaper in the entire Western United States. And I thank you all for giving us that distinction. The black press is of particular importance, and I would ask all of you to recognize it. Again, thanks to Skip, we have a Sentinel at all of your tables, on all of your seats, and in there is an envelope that would allow you to get a subscription. Because in order to continue to be the #1 black newspaper, you have to have readers. And we would hope that you would continue to be a reader and to help other people get a subscription so that we could read the Sentinel. It's not just about reading the Sentinel, it's about reading about black life. It's about reading the things that black people do in this community to make our community and our people better. Because if you're waiting for the LA Times, unless you get arrested and you go to jail or you steal some money, that's the only time you're going to make the paper. And you will make the front page. So if you want to make the front page, I got a prescription for you. But in the Sentinel, all you have to do is do something positive in the interests of black people. Graduate from college, marry a beautiful black woman or black man, go to church, praise God. Those that advocate for black people, come out to a march on behalf of Ezell Ford. Come to Taste the Soul. Those are the kinds of things that we recognize that others don't. And we recognize them because they're important and because we're committed to the elevating the quality of life of black people. And we're passing this down from generation to generation to generation. The legacy of the Bakewells and the legacy of black leadership was being passed down, not only to my children, but to my grandchildren. And if I leave you with nothing tonight, I leave you with that. We have a responsibility to the generations to come to not only talk about it, but to do something about it. Thank you so much for this honor.
Urban Country Gospel, and you're going to be able to tell people at home, I was there, and I heard Urban Country Gospel at the Black Business Association dinner. I present to you now the wonderful, the dynamic, the songstress of all time. She is known as Alice McAfee Williams, but her stage name that you're going to remember is Al Mac Will. Give her a round of applause.
Hush, hush, somebody's calling my name. Hush, be quiet, y'all. Hush, somebody's calling my name. Oh, my Lord, oh, my Lord, what shall I do? Steal away, home, steal away. I ain't got long to stay here. My God, He called me. He called me by the thunder. Trumpets sound within my soul. I ain't got long to stay here. From the beginning of time, messages has always been communicated in our music. Urban country gospel is all of that. And all the way back in the fields, there were messages communicated. And tonight I would like to communicate a message to you. 45 years of service, all of the honorees here tonight. This is a song that I sing when I don't want to be who I'm called to be. But this is the message for you tonight. Let me be a light shining bright in somebody's life. Let me be a light on top of a hill that won't ever grow dim. When the world looks at me, Lord, let them see you living inside of me. Let me be a light shining bright in somebody's life. People are crying and dying 'cause the world they can't see. Could it be there's no light shining in you or me? But if we could shine like the noonday sun, instead of walking away to Jesus, sinners would come. We gotta get closer to the light to shine bright in somebody's life. Oh, 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 let me be a light shining bright in somebody's life. Let me be the light on top of the hill that won't ever grow dim. When the world looks at me, Lord, let them see you living inside of me. I'm Al McWill. Thank you.
Now, our next honoree, a little different. We do have a couple of our corporate folks that's going to be recognized. The next corporation is our majority financial institution. And the winner is U.S. Bank. U.S. Bank has been a strong supporter of the African American community. Slauson and Crenshaw, La Brea and La Rodeo, Century Boulevard. They have a community room that most of the community organizations in the Crenshaw area have had their meetings in. That great community room at no cost. Just being a strong member of the community. And at the lead of that effort is a longtime good friend of mine, Darrell Brown, who's always out there. That's right, put your hands together for Darrell.
But there's 5 levels of commitment. There's the I'll think about it level of commitment. Some people are committed, but they'll never get past I'll think about it. The second level is I'll try level of commitment. The third level is I'll do what I can. See, that's mediocrity. A lot of folks live there in that space. The fourth level is I'll do what's expected. But when I look to my left, when I look to my right, and a lot of my colleagues in the audience that are dear friends of mine, they operate at what I call the 5th level of commitment. That's where it says, I'll do whatever it takes level of commitment. I have to tell you, that's where I play. I'm part of a company that plays there. But let me give you some statistics and tell you why the night is so important, because this is a call to action. When I look at Skip Cooper and what he's done all these years, 1 out of every 12 Asian households owns a small business. 1 out of every 20 Latino households owns a small business. You guys ready for the number? 1 out of every 400 African American households owns a small business. I'm here to tell you the truth, folks, because I'm a banker. Now, I want you to think about that for a moment. If you own a small business, what can you deduct on your taxes? Everything. If you don't own a small business, what can you deduct on your taxes? You know, interest on your household, interest if you own a home. And 65% of our folks don't. So that means what can we deduct? Nothing. That means the game is rigged. We pay 50% of our taxes. You guys need to understand why this is so important. This is the call to action. It's important that we're at the table, because if we're not at the table, we're on the menu. You need to understand how important what this is. I'm proud to tell you, I represent U.S. Bank, and I'm at the table to make a difference in this community as best I can. I don't stand alone. See, I want you guys to understand something. This is not a divide and conquer. We're going to be homogenized, because the things that I can't do, they can. We call each other on the phone. We're here not to play games. We're here to do damage, to make a difference in our community. Wake up. Operate at the 5th level. U.S. Bank is proud to be here representing what BBA and what Skip Cooper's leadership is all about. So I thank you. Stand tall. And what level are you going to play at? 5th level. Don't forget. Thank you.
Our Major Corporation Award is going to Southern California Edison. Accepting is going to be Eric Fisher. He's the Principal Manager for Supplier Diversity and Development.
First, I want to say, just on behalf of Southern California Edison, we thank BBA and Skip for this prestigious award. It's a blessing to be here. As I look around the room at all these sheroes and heroes here from these organizations and small business owners and business owners, it's just a pleasure to be here. When I sit up here on this stage and I look at all of these strong individuals here, they are absolutely right. It's our responsibility to ensure that we're doing the most that we can do for the small businesses of the areas that we serve. So I'm going to challenge all my colleagues, when they leave here today, to make sure they go back to do everything they can to develop, cultivate, and bring that experience of these firms or these small businesses into our organizations.
George McKenna III was born in New Orleans into a family that was steeped deeply in the culture and history of the city. In 1962, McKenna accepted a teaching position in the Los Angeles Unified School District. Mr. McKenna became principal of George Washington Preparatory High School in 1979. In 1989, Mr. McKenna received the Congressional Black Caucus's Chairman's Award, and in 1997 was elected into the National Alliance of Black School Educators Hall of Fame.
As an educator, especially in the Los Angeles Unified School District, where I'm now a board member, I want to be clear. We are a very large business. Education is a business. Money is spent educating and often miseducating children. If you are not willing to be a bit obstinate and disagreeable, you will participate in your own oppression and believe that your children are in some way uneducable. What is the role of education beyond simply raising test scores? What is the role of education in telling our young people not only how to avoid being incarcerated, but how to avoid being a victim for the rest of their lives because of the miseducation of our people? Because it was my perception that the greatest civil right that we have not yet attained is education. Danny Bakewell and I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, segregated on streets that are still not yet paved, streets that have no curbs, and we thought that was fine. We grew up in houses that we thought were fine, but when we look at them now, we wonder how we grew up in there. Do you know that the Los Angeles Unified School District, to my knowledge, is the largest public entity in the state of California, second only to the state of California. We fight each other over money, not whether our children will be better educated. That's an adult agenda. I'm a pro-labor person, but I can tell you that, to my knowledge also, we are the only labor union where the product is more important than the employee. But we produce human lives. And I have presided over too many funerals of children, young people who should still be alive. Whose fault is that? I don't care. I know whose responsibility it is. It is the educational system's responsibility. We can make excuses about poverty and fatherlessness and the Crips and all kinds of other things which have nothing to do with can you educate the child that's in front of you and the home from which they spring. That is important to you. The value of real estate is based upon the confidence that people have in the schools around them. I'm not talking about the love of money. I'm talking about the use of money. Money, 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 money. Yeah. The use of money, the appropriate use of money for the freedom of our people. Our unity is our strength. The question is, do we have the strength to be united? Now listen, I am grateful for this, but I don't want you to believe that the school system is necessarily in our best interest. When people say, does the school system work? It does. When children don't learn, that's by design. When a certain group of children do learn, that's by design. My colleagues say, George, it's heresy. Hey, I've always been a heretic when it comes to believing that I was supposed to be inferior and that our children can learn. There are no uneducable children. There are no uneducable human beings. But there are people with titles and certificates that cannot teach them, that cannot lead them, and prefer not to because there has to be a subordinate group of people in America, and why not us? Did they not bring us here for that reason? Yet we have been resistant. We have been insubordinate. And if being subordinate is a normality, and if that's normal, where schools don't work, I am proud to say I am trying to bring about an appropriate abnormality everywhere I can. Experience is the best teacher. That's not true. Learning from someone with experience is a better teacher before you try something you've never done before.
Mark Ridley Thomas started off as an activist, a community leader, a community organizer, and he still is a community organizer. But most important, Mark Ridley Thomas has been and has always been a public servant. Even though he won 4 elected offices, don't look at him as a, quote, politician, because in his heart and in his soul and his very DNA, he is a community organizer and a public servant.
Why don't you give a big round of applause to the Black Business Association for 45 years. Its leadership, Earl Skip Cooper and the Honorable Gwen Moore. Big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. They deserve it. We're here because we're blessed to be so. May I take this opportunity to accept the Chairman's award and to acknowledge that it's appropriate to celebrate progress and to reflect for a moment on our history. It is not to be lost on any of us that we are here because of the investment that others made on our behalf. But in the business I'm in, as I interpret it, it is results that matter. Somebody has to haul the trash, deliver the mail. I speak metaphorically, but in the end, the question for elected officials is, what have you done for me lately? Elected officials that don't deliver, I don't know why they would want to be elected. Straight talk, ladies and gentlemen, just straight talk. And so the business of being in a county that boasts of a budget of $26 billion is essentially to try to leverage that budget for the purposes of creating equity in our communities. That's the mandate. So in the second district, there's been $4 billion of that investment in infrastructure, capital, and generating jobs for the community of the second district. Now, why is that important? It's important because the second district represents one of the largest concentration of African Americans anywhere in the nation. There are more African Americans in the county of Los Angeles than in Fulton County and the surrounding areas of Georgia. All the Atlantic, more than the state of Mississippi. There's nearly 900,000+ African Americans in this county, and 75+% of them are in the second supervisorial district. In my view, the purpose for having elected officials who understand their history and know their assignment is because results matter. And so, Skip, I'm pleased to be here. Gwen, I wish to thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we ought to be proud of the BBA because of what they're doing, and we ought to give a big round of applause to all our honorees tonight. Thank you, and God bless you.
Our next honoree is what we call the Lifetime Achievement Award. It's going to go to the Reverend James M. Lawson, civil rights activist and professor. Reverend James Morris Lawson Jr. is an American activist, pastor, and university professor. He was a leading theoretician and tactician of nonviolence within the American civil rights movement. During the 1960s, he served as a mentor to the Nashville student movement and the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, better known as SNCC. He continues to train activists in nonviolence.
As you look at the honorees that are up here tonight, they're not just individuals who are, quote, Johnny-come-lately. They're people who have labored hard and long in the vineyards, in the fields, to really make black life better for all of us. I particularly look at Reverend Lawson, whose distinction in the struggle for black people. He's always associated with, obviously, Martin Luther King, which is of great distinction. But the role that he played in the civil rights movement, the role that he played here in Los Angeles as an advocate and someone who is tireless in terms of presenting a mirror to this society, we could never repay him. We could never thank him enough. But I want to try by just saying thank you, Jim. You've been a great, great advocate and a great leader.
I'm very, very grateful for the privilege of BBA giving me this achievement award, and I receive it gladly on behalf of my family, on behalf of all the people with whom I have been associated across the years, especially in this 50th year of Selma. I'm secondly very, very grateful for being here among these honorees of great achievement. Some of them are personal friends and colleagues who I've trusted in the nearly 41 years now that I've been here in Los Angeles. And it is good to be among them. Bob Farrell was a freedom rider. I was also in the Freedom Ride as both the representative of Martin King for the committee, but also in jail in Mississippi. Bob, I think, was in jail in Houston, Texas. So I'm grateful that I'm in this great company of people. My great-great-grandparents were slaves, maybe somewhere in Virginia. That's what some of the historians have told us. My great-grandfather escaped in the Underground Railroad up into Canada, where he built a farm. The slave, our foreparents, composed the music that is the Negro spiritual. Slaves did not acquiesce to slavery, to their slavery, and to their oppression. And the simple, urgent hope and aspiration of our slave foreparents that not only they would vanquish slavery and end it, but that every vestige of that oppression would be removed one day. We are an extraordinary people because in less than 100 years, we have moved from slavery to an increasing impact upon this nation as a whole. All of us have the responsibility personally to do what we can do in whatever way we can do it, quietly, by letter, by phone calls, yes, also, if necessary, through civil disobedience, but each one of us has a responsibility to make our position and our way of life a singular effort to resist every form of oppression, every form of the despising of other human beings, every form of trying to marginalize people. It is clear to me that in spite of the high idealism of the Declaration of Independence, this country has formed and has a 300 or 400-year history in which its central power use has not had black people or Indians or Mexicans or Asians at its heart. It has not been a society with us as a part of its mission and work. It is our task still in this 21st century to make it so that this nation becomes a nation of 320 million people who are genuinely, in every form, committed to equality, liberty, and justice for all. That's our continuing task.